In the fast-paced and high-stakes arena of real estate and global politics, one name frequently captures the spotlight with its heady mix of power plays, wealth displays, and controversial public intrigue: Trump. Indeed, this family, led by former President Donald Trump, has become a cornerstone of American luxury and contentious political engagement. Yet, a recurring curiosity among observers is whether the Trumps hail from an old money background, steeped in generations of affluence and influence, or if they represent the model of new money, with a penchant for reshaping norms and charting an unconventional path to prominence. In this episode, we will do a deep dive into their complete history, tracing the roots of the Trump surname, exposing the dynamic and contentious histories of Donald's forebears, and evaluate the strategic choices of each generation of the family as we describe. Is the Trump family new money or old money? To determine whether the modern Trump family fits the old money mold, in other words, wealth inherited over generations, or represents new money, aka recently acquired riches and its distinctive traits, we must start by examining the origins of their fortune. Thus, naturally, our journey into the history of the Trumps will begin with their earliest ancestors. Donald J. Trump's family tree reaches back to both Germany and Scotland, with key insights emerging from the paternal side. And the earliest known ancestor, Johannes Peter Christ, was born in Floersheim, Hesse, Germany, in 1626 and lived until 1689. Now, while the name Christ might seem a curious contrast to Trump, especially given Donald Trump's dramatic public persona, it is a relatively common surname in Germany. Notable figures with this name include Norman Christ, a physicist with a focus on computational theoretical physics, and Lena Christ, a German author known for her literary works. This particular Johannes Christ held the position of Schöffer, a lay judge with significant local influence, a role that implies he commanded respect and wielded some authority within his community, indicating a degree of status. Now, during Johannes's lifetime, Hesse was part of the Holy Roman Empire, an era marked by an agrarian economy and a feudal system. The region was also in the throes of major social and political upheavals, particularly related to religious matters, such as the Protestant Reformation, which began in the 16th century under Landgrave Philip the Magnanimous, and continued to influence the region's cultural and religious landscape throughout Johannes's life. Johannes Christ had 2 marriages and fathered 11 children, a notable number for the period. Indeed, in an agrarian society, such a large family would have been beneficial, providing labor for farm work, and Johannes's death at 62, considered a respectable age for his time, suggests he lived a relatively full life. This connection to a respected figure in the Holy Roman Empire gives the Trump family their first old money point, putting the score at 1-0, 1 point for old money, with new money still unaccounted for. Next, the Christ lineage eventually leads us to Philip Christ, father of Elizabeth Christ Trump. Philip was a tinker, repairing and polishing old tools and selling pots and pans, a common occupation in rural areas. He also owned a small vineyard, but the vineyard's income alone could not support his family. Now, Philip Christ's modest means are evident from his need to juggle multiple small-scale ventures. And this economic reality provides insight into the family's monetary standing in the 19th century and paints a picture of financial modesty. But Elizabeth Christ's marriage to Friedrich Trump in 1902 marked a dramatic shift in the family's economic status. Born in 1880, Elizabeth grew up in a modest household and likely contributed to the family's domestic and agricultural tasks, and her marriage to Friedrich Trump, who had already amassed significant wealth in America, represented a profound change from her previous economic conditions. Now, Friedrich Trump, originally Friedrich Drumpf from Karlstadt, born in 1869, had made substantial financial gains in the United States. Certainly, he transformed his fortunes from his roots in economically struggling Palatinate, and this change from Elizabeth's early years to her later life introduces a new money point into the mix. That leaves our score at 1-1, with 1 point for old money through the Christ lineage and 1 point for new money for the enterprising Friedrich Trump. Now, the name Drumpf from the Palatinate region provides a glimpse into the past and the evolution of names within German communities. In this case, Drumpf serves as a historical precursor to the now familiar Trump, and such name changes are not uncommon. Other Germans have similarly anglicized their names over time. A notable example is Jürgen Trumpf, a distinguished German diplomat who served as Secretary General of the Council of the European Union, illustrating a connection to the original name variant. Additionally, the shift from Drumpf to Trump was part of a broader trend among immigrants in America who sought to simplify their names for easier assimilation. Now, the Palatinate region, Friedrich Trump's original home, faced significant economic hardship during his time. Once known for its winemaking traditions dating back to Roman times, the area had deteriorated into poverty by the late 19th century, and the region's economy, reliant on viticulture, struggled due to market fluctuations, political instability, and agricultural challenges. The additional impact of the Napoleonic Wars and the subsequent realignment of German states had worsened the situation. Thus, Friedrich Trump arrived in New York as a young immigrant and initially worked as a barber, a trade he had learned in Germany, and his entrepreneurial spirit soon drove him westward. By the 1890s, he was running a restaurant in Seattle's notorious red light district. The Poodle Dog, as it was called, offered more than just meals. Its private rooms for ladies served as a cover for prostitution. But Friedrich's fortunes took a dramatic turn with the Klondike Gold Rush of 1896. Seizing the opportunity, he sold his Seattle business and moved north to the Yukon Territory, where his sharp business acumen became evident as he established a series of restaurants and hotels to cater to the influx of gold seekers. For example, the Arctic Restaurant and Hotel, his flagship venture, initially operated in Bennett, British Columbia, and later in Whitehorse, Yukon. But these ventures were not merely about providing sustenance and shelter. Reports from the era suggest that Trump's establishments also functioned as brothels, offering sporting ladies to minors. But Donald Trump has contested these descriptions of his grandfather's operations. Whatever the case was, Friedrich Trump's Yukon enterprises proved immensely profitable. Therefore, rather than striking gold himself, Trump built his wealth by catering to those searching for fortunes in the harsh Yukon environment. His business model, serving miners rather than competing with them, allowed him to accumulate considerable wealth in a short time. In 1901, Friedrich returned to Karlstadt, Germany, as a wealthy man, and his return marked a significant shift from his humble beginnings as a barber's apprentice. During this visit, he married one Elizabeth Christ, the aforementioned daughter of a former neighbor. Despite her last name's notoriety that we mentioned in the beginning of this video, Elizabeth's background was modest. This marriage thus represented a substantial economic and social advancement for Elizabeth, given the economic difficulties in the Palatinate. However, the Trump family's attempt to settle back in Germany was cut short, and in 1905, Bavarian authorities ordered Friedrich to leave due to his failure to complete mandatory military service and improper registration when he first emigrated. And despite Friedrich's heartfelt appeal to Prince Regent Luitpold, the order remained in effect. Forced to leave Germany, Friedrich and Elizabeth returned to the United States in July 1905, with Elizabeth pregnant with their son Fred, who would later become Donald Trump's father. Tragically, Friedrich's life was cut short by the 1918 influenza pandemic, passing away on the 30th of May 1918 at just 49 years old, leaving behind Elizabeth and their 3 children, Elizabeth, Fred, Donald's father, and John. The pandemic, which claimed millions globally, claimed another victim. A quite sad and ironic piece of history, given Donald Trump's presiding over the United States during another notable pandemic roughly 100 years later. After Friedrich's death, Elizabeth, then 37, took over the family's real estate ventures, and despite the challenges of managing a business as a widow in a male-dominated field, she demonstrated remarkable business acumen. Elizabeth continued and expanded the real estate operations her husband had started, constructing houses on his properties and securing income through mortgages. Then, in 1923, Elizabeth teamed up with her son Fred to co-found E. Trump and Son, laying the foundation for what would eventually become the Trump Organization. Fred, a recent high school graduate, quickly earned a reputation as a sharp businessman, and he expanded the family business, constructing thousands of homes and apartments throughout New York City. His innovative approach to home building earned him the nickname the Henry Ford of the home building industry, setting the stage for Donald Trump's own rise in Manhattan real estate during the 1970s. Now, Donald Trump's maternal ancestors originated from the Isle of Lewis in Scotland's Outer Hebrides, a region marked by significant economic and social hardships in the 19th century. But the Outer Hebrides, including Lewis, were among Europe's poorest areas, ravaged by the highland clearances that uprooted many communities and the collapse of the kelp industry, a vital source of income. Over the century, the Western Isles population plummeted by 40%, from roughly 46,000 to 28,000, driven by emigration and persistent economic strife. And the grandfather of Mary Ann MacLeod, Donald Trump's mother, was named Malcolm MacLeod and born in 1866 in Tong, near Stornoway. Now, Malcolm was the son of Alexander MacLeod, a crofter and fisherman, and grandson of William MacLeod. And this lineage reveals a tradition of subsistence, living in the harsh environment of the Outer Hebrides, where fishing and small-scale farming were lifelines. And while the MacLeod name had clout elsewhere in Scotland, the local branch on Lewis held little status. Furthermore, although the clan system had largely waned by the 19th century, Lewis's MacLeods were not linked to the more prominent clan factions of Skye and Harris. Therefore, we shall award another new money point to the Trumps, as much of Donald Trump's maternal lineage seems to come from essentially working-class or rural Scotland. That leaves our score at 2-1, with new money in the lead. Now, this Malcolm MacLeod, a crofter and fisherman by trade, led a life typical of the region's working class. Crofting and fishing in the Outer Hebrides were precarious, with communities frequently grappling with economic and environmental challenges that left them on the margins. Malcolm wed one Mary Ann Smith MacLeod in 1886, and they raised 10 children, with Mary Ann, Donald's mother, being the youngest. And the family's modest lifestyle was deeply entrenched in the Gaelic-speaking community of the Western Isles. For instance, Gaelic was the primary language at home, with English acquired through formal education. Next, Mary Ann MacLeod, born on the 10th of May 1912 in Tong, sought better prospects at 18. And in 1930, she boarded the SS Transylvania in Glasgow, embarking on a journey that would reshape her destiny. Upon her arrival in New York, Mary Ann began her American life working as a domestic servant, a common role for young immigrant women of the era. Her duties included a notable stint as a maid for Louise Carnegie, widow of the industrialist Andrew Carnegie, at the Carnegie Mansion on the Upper East Side. Then, during the Great Depression, Mary Ann's employment situation became unstable. She briefly returned to Scotland in 1934, but was back in New York by April 1935. And it was during this time, while staying with her sister in Queens, that Mary Ann's fortunes took a significant turn. At a social event in mid-1930s New York, Mary Ann met Fred Trump, an emerging real estate developer. Fred, already making a name for himself in property development, represented a striking contrast to Mary Ann's working-class origins. Their relationship quickly blossomed, culminating in their marriage on the 11th of January 1936 at Madison Avenue Presbyterian Church. And the wedding reception, held at the upscale Carlisle Hotel, underscored their aspirations and the early stages of their social ascent. Initially, the newlyweds lived with Fred's mother in Jamaica, Queens, a middle-class area at the time. But by 1940, the Trumps had established their own home in Jamaica, Queens, where they lived with their 2 young children, Mary Ann and Fred Jr., and a Scottish domestic worker. Notably, the valuation of their home at $12,500 in 1940, roughly $214,000 today, marked a considerable leap in their financial status from Mary Ann's days as a domestic worker. While Fred Trump's real estate ventures were flourishing, the Trumps' social ascent was more gradual. They were making strides in Queens rather than the more exclusive Manhattan circles. Fred's business thrived with the onset of World War II, which spurred growth in wartime housing projects. But Fred's real estate business boomed during this period, and by 1941, he was constructing housing for U.S. Navy personnel near shipyards in Norfolk, Newport News, Virginia, and Chester, Pennsylvania. By 1944, he had developed 1,360 wartime apartments in Norfolk, contributing nearly 10% of the area's wartime housing. Thus, for the aspirational wedding, consistent upgrades in quality of life, and savvy social mobility the parents of Donald Trump experienced even before his birth, we shall award yet another new money point, leaving the score at 3-1 in favor of the statement, "The Trumps are new money." And as Fred's business grew, Mary Ann adapted to her new role as the wife of a successful businessman. Having arrived from Scotland and started as a domestic servant, she now enjoyed a comfortable upper-middle-class life. Then she became a naturalized US citizen on the 10th of March 1942, firmly rooting herself in her adopted country. Next, the Trumps family expanded with the birth of their third child, Elizabeth, in 1942. Mary Ann primarily managed the household and raised the children, but occasionally assisted Fred's business by collecting coins from laundry machines in their apartment buildings. Now, Fred's parenting style was strict, characterized by rigid curfews and a no-nonsense approach to discipline, which influenced Donald Trump's upbringing. The wartime years, while presenting challenges, also offered Fred opportunities for expansion, and his post-war projects, including the Shore Haven development in Bensonhurst, positioned his business for substantial growth in the years to follow. By 1940, the Trumps' improved financial situation allowed them to move into their own home, and their employ of a Scottish domestic servant signaled their rising status and a reversal of Mary Ann's earlier position. As Fred's real estate empire expanded, the Trumps increasingly engaged in New York's social scene, hosting events and joining exclusive clubs. Mary Ann, once a domestic servant, was now entertaining business associates and local dignitaries, marking a significant transformation from her early days in America. Now, by the time Donald Trump reached his teenage years, the Trump family had firmly planted themselves in the upper middle class, reveling in a comfortable lifestyle that set them apart from many of their contemporaries. Fred Trump's success in real estate development enabled his family to enjoy a life of privilege, far removed from the financial struggles faced by most. Specifically, the Trumps resided in Jamaica Estates, Queens. At the time, a serene, upscale neighborhood characterized by its elegant homes and quiet streets. And their residence, a sprawling 23-room colonial, symbolized the family's ascent in social and economic circles. And Fred Trump's knack for real estate and relentless drive were instrumental in elevating the family's socio-economic status. His vast real estate empire, focused on middle-class housing across Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island, provided the Trumps with the financial means to send their children to prestigious private schools. Donald Trump, for instance, was enrolled at the Kew Forest School in Forest Hills before being transferred to the New York Military Academy at age 13. Interestingly, this move was prompted by Donald's boisterous and assertive nature. His parents hoped the regimented environment of the military academy would help channel his energy more constructively. Furthermore, the Trumps mingled with other prosperous business families in Queens and Brooklyn. They associated with figures entrenched in real estate and construction, including the Tomasello family, who had connections with the Gambino and Genovese crime families. These affiliations were crucial for securing lucrative contracts and navigating the real estate market, particularly during a time when organized crime held considerable sway over construction unions and material suppliers. And his relationship with lawyer Roy Cohn, who had ties to several mafia leaders, further highlighted the intersections between business and organized crime in the city's real estate sector. Now, although the Trumps enjoyed substantial wealth, they kept a relatively low profile in Manhattan's high society. You see, while they were respected locally, they were not part of the old money circles that dominated Manhattan's social scene. This is partly because Fred Trump concentrated his real estate ventures in the outer boroughs rather than the competitive Manhattan market, which influenced the family's social standing. In other words, while they were prominent within their local community, they didn't penetrate the elite circles of New York City. It is here that we should add yet another new money point to the Trumps for their means of social mobility, concentrated on the outer boroughs, reportedly consorting with crime figures and avoiding the need to play politics on the island of Manhattan, all point to an entrepreneurial, did-it-my-way attitude. That leaves our score at 4-1 for new money, but let's see if some other info can help even things up. Additionally, Fred Trump's career was marred by allegations of discriminatory rental practices and legal troubles involving profiteering and tax evasion. Therefore, Donald Trump and his siblings inherited this complex legacy, and growing up in Jamaica estates, they experienced both the benefits of affluence and the gritty realities of the real estate business. Now, Mary Ann Trump Barry, the eldest sibling, forged a distinguished path in law and public service. Born on the 5th of April 1937 in Queens, she attended Kew Forest School before pursuing higher education. She next graduated cum laude from Mount Holyoke College in 1958, earned a master's degree in public law and government from Columbia University in 1962, and later received her Juris Doctor from Hofstra University School of Law in 1974. Her legal career began as an assistant U.S. attorney in New Jersey, where she earned a reputation as a formidable prosecutor, particularly in substance-related cases. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan appointed her to the United States District Court for New Jersey, and she served until 1999, when President Bill Clinton elevated her to the United States Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. Additionally, throughout her judicial career, Mary Ann was known for her sharp intellect and pragmatic approach. She earned respect for handling complex cases and navigating politically sensitive issues. In 2004, she was honored with an award from Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor for her excellence in law and public service. Mary Ann's relationship with her brother Donald was complicated, and while she supported his early business ventures and political ambitions, she was also known to privately critique his behavior and policies. This tension became public in 2020 when her niece, Mary L. Trump, released recordings of Mary Ann's critical comments about Donald's presidency. In February 2019, Mary Ann retired from the federal bench amid an investigation into her involvement in the Trump family's tax practices, effectively ending the Judicial Conduct Inquiry. She passed away on the 13th of November 2023 at 86 in her Manhattan residence. Next, Fred Trump Jr., born the 14th of October 1938, was the eldest son of Fred Trump Sr. and Mary Ann McLeod Trump. Like his sister Mary Ann, he attended Kew Forest School in Queens and graduated from Lehigh University in 1960 with a degree in business, serving as president of the Sigma Alpha Mu fraternity. But Fred Jr. chose a path distinct from the family real estate business, pursuing a career in aviation with TWA. And this choice created friction within the family, particularly with his father and younger brother Donald, who viewed his career decision as a departure from expectations. Now, Fred Jr.'s life was marred by alcoholism, which severely impacted both his professional and personal life. You see, unable to continue his career as a pilot, he worked sporadically for Trump management, performing maintenance tasks on family properties. His personal struggles led to a separation from his wife Linda Clapp and contributed to his premature death on the 26th of September, 1981, at 42. Fred Jr.'s battle with alcoholism and its impact on his life were deeply felt by his family, particularly Donald, who has cited this experience as the reason for his own abstinence from alcohol. Therefore, we'll give one new money point for the tumultuous interpersonal dynamics of Trump's siblings, but one old money point for the illustrious and otherwise unblemished legal career of the late Mary Ann Trump. That leaves our current score at 5-2, with new money still in the lead. Next, Elizabeth Trump Grau, the middle sibling, took a lower profile route compared to her siblings. She attended Kew Forest School before studying at Southern Seminary College, now Southern Virginia University, and Elizabeth pursued a career in banking, working as an executive assistant at Chase Manhattan Bank, and achieved financial success independent of the family's real estate interests. In 1989, Elizabeth married film producer James Walter Grau, with the wedding receiving coverage from the New York Times, highlighting the family's social prominence. Though she generally avoided the limelight associated with the Trump name, she accumulated significant wealth through her banking career and real estate investments. For example, Elizabeth purchased a mansion in the Hamptons in 1996 for $1.2 million, selling it in 2017 for $3.7 million, an excellent return on investment if we do say so ourselves. Additionally, Elizabeth's participation in family affairs included a notable philanthropic gesture in 2011 when she and her siblings donated $1 million to the Hospital for Special Surgery in honor of their parents. Therefore, the dynamic and polymathic life of Elizabeth Trump, along with her notable wedding and Hamptons high life, should award the Trump family an extra one old money point for behavior, leaving our score at 5-3 in favor of the statement, The Trumps are new money. Lastly, Robert Trump, the youngest sibling, was born in August 1948, and like Elizabeth, he attended Kew Forest School and graduated from Boston University with a degree in economics. He initially worked on Wall Street before joining the family business as an executive vice president at the Trump Organization, managing real estate holdings outside Manhattan. Robert also served on the board of directors for ZeniMax Media, the parent company of Bethesda Softworks, from 1999 until his death in 2020. His personal life included 2 marriages, with his second marriage to Anne Marie Palin occurring shortly before his death. And Robert was known for his staunch support of his brother Donald's political career before passing away on the 15th of August 2020 at 71. With that said, as we move into the life and behavior of Donald Trump himself, the new money side is ahead with a fairly comfortable lead at 5-2. We'll have to see what the next chapter brings in order to determine the final tally. Donald Trump's business journey began in the early 1970s when he joined his father's real estate firm, Elizabeth Trump and Son, and at that time, the company was focused on developing affordable housing in the outer boroughs of New York City. Trump's debut into real estate development came with the renovation of the Swifton Village apartment complex in Cincinnati, Ohio, a project he undertook with his father's financial backing. Completed in 1972, this marked Trump's first significant step into the world of real estate. With this initial success under his belt, Trump turned his attention to Manhattan, setting the stage for his future career. And in 1976, he acquired the Commodore Hotel near Grand Central Terminal, which he transformed into the Grand Hyatt in 1980. This project established Trump as a daring and ambitious developer, willing to invest in properties that others saw as too risky. Now, throughout the 1980s, Trump's real estate empire expanded significantly with high-profile projects such as Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue, which opened in 1983. The 58-story skyscraper not only served as his personal residence, but also became the headquarters of the Trump Organization. And this era also saw Trump exploring other ventures, including casinos in Atlantic City and purchasing the New Jersey Generals football team. Additionally, Trump's quest for acceptance among the elite led him to join exclusive clubs and build connections with prominent figures. Despite his efforts, he frequently clashed with established power structures. Therefore, in the mid-1980s, Trump set his sights on Palm Beach, Florida, a symbol of old money and exclusivity. As a brash developer from Queens, Trump was initially an outsider to the town's elite social circles. However, his purchase of Mar-a-Lago in 1985 for $10 million became a turning point in both his career and Palm Beach's history. You see, Mar-a-Lago, originally built by serial heiress Marjorie Merriweather Post, had deteriorated before Trump acquired it. Initially intended as a private residence, Trump faced challenges with the Palm Beach Town Council over plans to subdivide the property. After a contentious legal battle, including a $50 million lawsuit against the town, Trump altered his approach and transformed Mar-a-Lago into a private club in 1995. Naturally, this move was a dramatic departure from Palm Beach's old money social norms, and Trump's later decision to open Mar-a-Lago's membership to Jews and African Americans stood in stark contrast to many of Palm Beach's exclusive clubs, which maintained discriminatory practices. Specifically, Trump's attorney, Paul Rampell, had convinced him of the business opportunity in catering to wealthy Jewish residents who lacked an exclusive club. Furthermore, Trump's inclusive policy at Mar-a-Lago stirred controversy. He faced resistance from some Palm Beach residents and had to navigate complex local regulations. Then, in 1996, he filed another, separate from the aforementioned, $100 million lawsuit against Palm Beach, claiming that the town was discriminating against Mar-a-Lago, partly due to its open membership policy. While the lawsuit focused on zoning issues, it highlighted the tensions surrounding Trump's challenge to the status quo. Despite the initial resistance, Trump's actions at Mar-a-Lago began to dismantle long-standing barriers in Palm Beach society, and the club became a pioneer in accepting African Americans and openly gay couples, marking a notable shift in the local social scene. Although driven primarily by business interests rather than social activism, Trump's approach contributed to altering the exclusivity of the Palm Beach community. Therefore, we shall award another new money point for Donald J. Trump's many battles with the decidedly old money traditional community of Florida, from his battle to rebuild the iconic post structure to his opening up of Mar-a-Lago to different social groups. That leaves our current score at 6-2 in favor of the Trumps are new money. Indeed, Trump's transformation of Mar-a-Lago into a thriving and inclusive private club demonstrated that an open membership policy could be both profitable and influential. And this approach challenged the exclusionary practices of other clubs and gradually reshaped the social landscape in Palm Beach. Soon, the club's growing popularity attracted socialites, business leaders, and became a venue for high-profile charity events, which is, prior to Trump's presidency, what it was probably best known for. Naturally, as Trump's political career ascended, Mar-a-Lago's prominence soared, and during his tenure, Trump referred to it as the Winter White House, hosting international dignitaries and using it for official functions. This elevated the club's status and further spotlighted Palm Beach. But the 1980s also saw the emergence of Trump's distinctive gauche gold taste. For example, the opulent design of Trump Tower, with its reflective glass facade and gold-accented interiors, set a precedent for Trump's future style. This penchant for gold-plated extravagance became a hallmark of his brand, extending to other properties and even his aircraft. And Trump's affinity for gold traces back to his desire to project wealth and success. You see, gold, historically linked to royalty and grandeur, became a symbol of Trump's aspirational lifestyle and business savvy. And this gold-centric aesthetic reached its peak with projects like the Trump International Hotel and Tower in Las Vegas, featuring gold-tinted windows, and his personal penthouse in Trump Tower, adorned with gold leaf and lavish decor. And though some critics viewed this style as excessive, it became a defining feature of Trump's brand. Yet, we would be remiss to not award a new money point for this gold on everything we can find kind of aesthetic, which even non-old money people might see as tacky. That leaves our score at a whopping 7-2 in favor of the Trump's a new money statement. Furthermore, Trump's 3 marriages offer a window into the diverse backgrounds of the women who shared his life, and each brought unique experiences and perspectives to their relationship with the real estate mogul-turned-president. First, Ivana Trump, born Ivana Zelničková in 1949 in communist Czechoslovakia, came from a modest background. Her father was an electrical engineer and her mother a telephone operator, and Ivana's competitive spirit, honed through skiing, led her to Canada after her marriage to Austrian ski instructor Alfred Winkelmeyer in 1971. Her modeling career and subsequent marriage to Donald Trump in 1977 thrust her into New York's elite, where she became a key player in Trump's business ventures, including the Plaza Hotel. Next, Marla Maples, born in 1963 in Dalton, Georgia, came from a small-town background, and her father, Stan Maples, had a varied career including real estate and county commissioner, while her mother's modeling career influenced Marla's own aspirations. Marla's move to New York in her 20s was driven by dreams of fame. Her relationship with Trump, which began during his marriage to Ivana, led to their marriage in 1993. This transition from her modest southern roots to Trump's world of wealth was challenging, as Marla struggled to find her place among the elite. Lastly, Melania Trump, née Melania Knavs, was born in 1970 in Sevnica, Slovenia. Her upbringing in a communist system was marked by her father's car dealership and her mother's textile work, and Melania's early modeling career in Milan and Paris eventually brought her to New York in 1996, where she met Donald Trump in 1998. Their marriage in 2005 elevated her to New York's high society, culminating in her role as First Lady of the United States in 2017, a position that required navigating the complexities of international politics and diplomacy. Therefore, considering the consistent habit of marrying women who weren't already attached to prominent families, a decidedly old money trait known as strategic intermarriage, we shall award the Trump family with another new money point, leaving the score at 8-2, going into the final stretch. Now, Donald J. Trump has 5 children from 3 marriages, each carving out their own distinct paths and public personas. Donald Trump Jr., born in 1977 from Trump's first marriage to Ivana Trump, is the eldest of the Trump children. and he is currently the Executive Vice President of Development and Acquisitions at the Trump Organization. Known for his directness and political engagement, Donald Jr. has been a prominent supporter of his father's political ambitions, actively campaigning and making numerous rally appearances. His outspoken nature and social media activity have drawn significant attention, often sparking controversy. And he has authored 2 books, Triggered and Liberal Privilege, which further establish his stance as a vocal conservative figure. Next, Ivanka Trump, born in 1981, is Trump's second child with Ivana. Her career has spanned modeling, business, and politics. Ivanka served as a senior advisor during her father's presidency, focusing on education and economic initiatives. And before her White House role, she was involved in the Trump Organization and operated her own fashion line. Known for her polished public image, Ivanka is often seen as one of the more moderate voices within Trump's circle, although her consistent connection with her father, as opposed to distancing herself from him, leads many to consider her and her husband Jared Kushner to be some of the main Trump family insiders. Eric Trump, born in 1984, is the youngest child from Trump's marriage to Ivana, and like his siblings, he holds an executive role in the Trump Organization and manages Trump Winery. He frequently defends his father's policies and appears in media to support the Trump administration. Next, Tiffany Trump, born in 1993, is Trump's only child with his second wife, Marla Maples. Raised primarily in California by her mother, Tiffany pursued her education at Georgetown University Law Center, graduating in 2020. And though she has been less involved in the family business, Tiffany has participated in significant political events, including speaking at Republican national conventions. She is also known for her social media presence and has explored music and modeling. Lastly, Barron Trump, born in 2006, is the youngest of Trump's children and his only child with current wife Melania Trump. Due to his age, Barron has remained relatively private until recently, where he has gone viral numerous times during the 2024 election cycle for his height, youthful good looks, and impression that he is the heir apparent to his father's charismatic personality. Despite this fact, little is known about whether his behavior is similarly dominant and hard-nosed like his father. That remains to be seen. He attended St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Maryland during his father's presidency and later moved to Oxbridge Academy in Florida. Recently, Barron made headlines as a Florida delegate to the Republican National Convention, marking his initial foray into the political sphere. And therefore, we shall end with a last new money point for the Trump children as a group. For most of them, to varying degrees, have been public figures aligned with the Trump brand, as it were, rather than in the shadows, as many old money heirs would be in order to preserve the family wealth for generations. That leaves the final tally at 9-2, with a resounding score in favor of the claim that the Trumps are new money. With that all said, let's hear your opinion in the comments. Do you believe the Trumps are indeed new money or old money? And please let us know your reasoning. We appreciate your time joining us on this episode, and if you enjoyed this format, please click the video on screen to watch our similarly organized video on whether Elon Musk's family is new money or old money. We'll see you there or in the comments below, and thanks again.